Welcome to SATV News. This is Riaz Mahmood with our headlines. Schedule for the 30th national election to be announced this week, says CEC. Differences of opinion must not undermine nation's dreams, says Mirza Fakhrul, calls for unity to honor July martyrs. Interim government resorting to secrecy in formulation of every law, says Dr. Iftikharuzzaman. And now in details. Chief Election Commissioner A.M.M. Nasiruddin has said that the schedule for the upcoming national parliamentary elections will be announced later this week. He disclosed this information today in response to questions following a private meeting at the Chief Justice's chamber. Earlier, the Chief Election Commissioner met with Chief Justice Dr. Syed Rifat Ahmed. He said they will deploy the Electoral Inquiry Committee. When asked whether the Chief Justice had given any assurance, the CEC responded he has assured us that appropriate measures are being taken and will be taken regarding the deployment of the Electoral Inquiry Committee. He assured that there will be no difficulty, added the Mr. Nasir. BNP Secretary General Mirza Fakhrul Islam Alamgir today urged political leaders and people to remain united in safeguarding the gains of last year's July mass uprising, says the sacrifices of the young people who lost their lives must not go in vain. He made these remarks while addressing the publication ceremony of 4 books written by prominent economist Professor Mahbubullah and his wife Salma Alo. Mr. Fakhrul also said that differences of opinion may exist among political parties, but those must not undermine the hopes and dreams of the nation. The sacrifices of the young men who gave their lives must not go in vain, he added. The program organized at the Jatiya Press Club also coincided with the 81st birthday of Professor Mahbubullah. Praising the noted economist, Fakhrul described Mahbubullah as one of the most respected intellectuals in the country. He further said Mahbubullah has long been associated with BNP's reform efforts, playing a key role in policy discussions and initiatives taken by Begum Khaleda Zia. Meanwhile, BNP Standing Committee member Nazrul Islam Khan today said the people of Bangladesh are eagerly awaiting a free, impartial and participatory national election. After the fall of fascism in the country, the foremost task now is to organize a free and fair parliamentary election, he said. He made these remarks while speaking at the inauguration of the 3rd day of BNP's 7-day program titled Plan for Nation Building at the Krishibid Institution Bangladesh Convention Hall in Dhaka. The senior BNP leader warned that no new conspiracies would succeed. The people who defeated the 15-year oppressive government will not allow any new plots to succeed, he said. Nazrul Islam Khan also highlighted that BNP acting chairman Tariq Rahman has formulated a long-term plan for state governance based on a thorough understanding of the country's economic capacity and the needs and aspirations of the people. He further added that Tariq Rahman's long-term plans aim to address these inequalities and build a skilled, honest and capable nation. The interim government is resorting to secrecy in the formulation of every law, said Transparency International Bangladesh Executive Director Iftikharuzzaman today. Speaking at a discussion titled The Situation of Media in Post-Authoritarian Bangladesh to mark International Anti-Corruption Day 2025, he also said bureaucracy is the biggest obstacle to reform in Bangladesh. Reform in Bangladesh can only progress to the extent the bureaucracy permits, he said, calling bureaucratic resistance the central barrier to meaningful change. More than 100 proposals came for public administration reform. Among them, only 18 proposals were given importance, the first of which was the cleaning of toilets, he added. According to him, broad agreement has been reached on almost all the recommendations made by the Anti-Corruption Commission Reform Commission, yet there is no progress on any of them, he asserted. Until the political culture and bureaucratic culture are removed, change will not come, Dr. Iftikharuzzaman further added. NCP wants to come to power with the support of the people, not with the support of India, said party's chief organizer for South, Hasnat Abdullah. Hasnat earlier testified as a witness before the tribunal in the case over the killing of Begum Rokeya University student Abu Saeed in Rangpur on 16 July 2024. Hasnat, one of the key coordinators of the anti-discrimination students movement, said he and other coordinators were picked up by law enforcement a day after Abu Saeed's killing. During their captivity, he claimed to have witnessed officers dictating the news carried by several television channels. The tribunal began recording Hasnat Abdullah's testimony at 11:15 a.m. A recess was announced at 1:30 p.m. after which he held the press briefing. He was scheduled to continue his testimony at 2:30 p.m. Prosecutor Ghazi M.H. Tamim conducted the hearing for the prosecution. Prosecutors Moinul Karim and Abdul Sattar Palwan were also present. There are 30 accused in that case, including former BRUR Vice-Chancellor Asibur Rashid. Hasnat is the 22nd witness in the case, in which the prosecution has listed around 30 to 35 witnesses. Viewers, we're taking a short break. Stay with us.
সারা দেশে লাখো মানুষের কঠোর কর্মতৎপরতা ও নিষ্ঠায় এসএ পরিবহন পার্সেল অ্যান্ড কুরিয়ার সার্ভিস এখন 16 কোটি মানুষের হাতের নাগালে। দীর্ঘ 30 বছর ধরে বিশ্বস্ততা ও দ্রুততার সাথে সেবা দেওয়ায় গ্রাহক সেবায় এখন শীর্ষে। বাংলাদেশে গ্রাহক সেবার সাফল্যের পর এসএ পরিবহন পার্সেল অ্যান্ড কুরিয়ার সার্ভিস এখন বিশ্ব বাণিজ্য কেন্দ্র সিঙ্গাপুরে। আপনার যে কোনো পণ্য সিঙ্গাপুর থেকে বাংলাদেশে বুকিং এর জন্য যোগাযোগ করুন। এসএ পরিবহন প্রাইভেট লিমিটেড, লজিস্টিক্স পার্সেল অ্যান্ড কুরিয়ার সার্ভিস, 22 Roberts Lane, Singapore 218302. Phone 0065 629 24900. বাংলাদেশ থেকে সিঙ্গাপুরে পণ্য বুকিং এর জন্য যোগাযোগ করুন ঢাকা সহ দেশের যে কোনো 80টি শাখা কেন্দ্রে। এসএ পরিবহন পার্সেল অ্যান্ড কুরিয়ার সার্ভিস, আপনার সেবা সব সময়।
Welcome, Grand Palace Hotel, Dhaka. A majestic lobby blending timeless elegance with modern design. Experience 5-star comfort in suites and rooms.
Welcome back. You are watching SATV News. Now, news from abroad. Cambodia said Thailand's military resumed attacks on Tuesday morning in border regions, killing at least 7 people. The civilian death toll in the country now reaches 9. Meanwhile, Thailand said that at least 3 soldiers killed in the attacks. Bangkok and Phnom Penh have blamed each other for the renewed clashes that broke out on Monday and said they would not back down in defending their sovereignty. Both countries said they had evacuated hundreds of thousands of people from border areas. Meanwhile, while talking to Al Jazeera, Thailand's foreign minister said that there is no space for diplomacy in the current conflict. Cambodian evacuated the border town of Poipet following the deadly clashes. Earlier, a Thai defense spokesperson said the Thai military had focused solely on military targets to degrade Cambodia during a televised news conference. Japanese authorities lifted tsunami warnings on Tuesday, hours after a powerful 7.5 magnitude earthquake shook northeastern regions, injuring at least 30 people and forcing about 90,000 residents to evacuate their homes. The earthquake struck off the coast at 11:15 p.m. on Monday, and the Japan Meteorological Agency had said a tsunami as high as 3 meters could hit the country's northeastern coast. Warnings were issued for the prefectures of Hokkaido, Aomori and Iwate, and tsunamis from 20 to 70 centimeters high were observed at several ports, JMA said. The epicenter of the quake was 80 kilometers off the coast of Aomori Prefecture at a depth of 54 kilometers. By the early hours of Tuesday, the JMA downgraded the warnings to advisories and later lifted all advisories. There were no reports of major damage. Israeli warplanes carried out heavy strikes on Gaza overnight, concentrating on Rafah, while ground forces opened fire near what Israel calls the Morag axis. Reports from local media outlets described intense bombardment across southern Gaza as Israel widened its offensive against the city. On Monday, several Palestinians were wounded in Israeli shelling that hit a house in the Al-Basa area of Deir al-Balah in the Gaza Strip, the Palestinian news agency Wafa reported. According to the news agency, at least 2 Palestinians were killed and several others injured on Monday evening in Israeli attacks on Gaza. One Palestinian was killed in shelling on Deir al-Balah in central Gaza, while a Palestinian woman died in an Israeli drone strike on Halawa camp in Jabalia, northern Gaza. Taiwan's foreign ministry on Tuesday called China a troublemaker as it rejected Beijing's claim of sovereignty. On Friday, the United States unveiled a new security strategy aimed at building up military power to deter conflict with Beijing over Taiwan. China responded by pledging to defend its sovereignty and warned against external interference. Only Taiwan's democratically elected government can represent the 23 million people of Taiwan in the international community and in multilateral settings. China has no right to interfere, said Xiao Kuang-wei, Taiwan's foreign ministry spokesperson, during a news conference in Taipei on Tuesday. When asked about China's foreign ministers, Wang Yi recently claimed that the People's Republic of China was the successor state to the Republic of China. It naturally enjoys sovereignty over Taiwan, Xiao replied, adding that Taiwan absolutely was not part of the People's Republic of China. Russia's top general Valery Gerasimov said on Tuesday that Moscow's forces were advancing along the entire front line in Ukraine and were targeting surrounded Ukrainian troops in the town of Myrnoherd. During a command post meeting with officers of the center grouping, which is fighting in Ukraine's Dnipropetrovsk region, Gerasimov said President Vladimir Putin had ordered the defeat of Ukrainian forces in Myrnoherd, a town with a pre-war population of some 46,000 people to the east of Pokrovsk in Ukraine's Donetsk region. Gerasimov said Russian forces had taken control of more than 30% of Myrnoherd's buildings. According to Russia, it has taken the whole of the city and claims to have also encircled Ukrainian forces in Myrnoherd, which Russians call Dmitrov. However, Ukraine has repeatedly denied Russian claims that Pokrovsk has fallen and says its forces still hold part of the city and are fighting back in Myrnoherd. Ukraine is short of about $800 million to buy the U.S. weapons it had planned to purchase this year with help from its European allies, said Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Monday. Zelensky told journalists en route to Brussels that talks with leaders of Britain, Germany and France in London had been productive adding that the peace proposals were being finalized and would be shared with the United States. On Tuesday, Ukraine will share a revised peace plan with the U.S. on Tuesday aimed at ending Russia's war. U.S. President Donald Trump's envoy Steve Witkoff and son-in-law Jared Kushner brought a revised plan to Moscow last week, then held several more days of talks with Ukrainian officials in Miami, which ended on Saturday with no breakthrough. Zelensky called the discussions constructive but not easy. Trump said on Sunday he was disappointed with Zelensky, accusing him of not having read the latest proposals backed by the U.S. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro on Monday emphasized the role of national strength in ensuring peace and fostering social welfare during a government review meeting broadcast on state television. The more power his nation has, the more secure the path to peace will be. To build Venezuela's own model based on maximum social happiness, which is what inspires countrymen, according to the liberator Simon Bolivar. Maduro made this comment at the event attended by government ministers. He also highlighted the importance of the country's military in safeguarding national sovereignty and security, describing their efforts as professional and scientific. And there is the Bolivarian National Armed Forces consolidating the nation's defense system in a professional and scientific manner with high combat morale and imperturbable serenity, exercising national sovereignty and guaranteeing the security of the entire homeland, he stated. The comment comes following months of U.S. pressure on Venezuela, including strikes against alleged drug smuggling boats, threats of military action, and the designation of a cartel de los Azules as a foreign terrorist group.
Mientras más poder tenga la nación.
2 people have died and at least 10 were injured in a clash with the police in the central Cochabamba region, according to Bolivian media, as officers were dispatched to end a day-long blockade. The son of one of the victims said his father was shot with a handgun and that there were shock groups in the clashes. Violence erupted when protesters who had been blocking a garbage dump for 12 days fired firecrackers at the police, responded with tear gas, Bolivian media reported. At least 10 people were injured, including 2 officers. Cuba's Supreme Popular Tribunal on Monday sentenced former Economy Minister Alejandro Gil Fernandez to life in prison following a closed-door trial that found him guilty of espionage in one of the country's highest-profile corruption cases in decades. The court additionally found Gil guilty of a range of corruption charges in a second trial, including bribery, falsification of public documents, influence peddling, and tax evasion. Gil was sentenced to a concurrent 20 years sentence for those crimes. The former economy minister, once a close confidant of President Miguel Diaz-Canel, spearheaded major monetary reforms in Cuba in 2021, which were largely seen as disastrous for the already troubled economy. Sacked by Diaz-Canel in February 2024, Gil had not been seen or heard from until the trials, prompting widespread speculation about his whereabouts.
En custodia oficial y violación de los sellos oficiales e infracción de las normas de protección de documentos.
Ecuadorian police found 13 people dead in a prison in the country's southwest on Sunday, Ecuador's prison agency SNAI said on Monday. Autopsies and routine procedures were being performed to determine the official causes of death at the prison in the port town Mashala, the agency added. Police initiated a review of the prison after an explosion occurred outside its perimeter. The prison has been the site of other episodes of violence in recent months. In November, the SNAI reported at least 13 deaths after a day of rioting, with most of the deaths attributed to asphyxiation. President Daniel Noboa's administration blames ongoing violence in Ecuador's prisons on rival gangs battling for dominance and territorial control. Congolese President Felix Tshisekedi said on Monday that neighboring Rwanda is violating its commitments just days after attending a ceremony in Washington to sign deals that aimed to end years of conflict in the country's mineral-rich east. Tshisekedi made the accusations in a speech to lawmakers. Deadly clashes have emerged efforts to begin implementing the terms of U.S. and Qatar brokered agreements signed in recent months between Congo, Rwanda and the rebel group M23. Last week, Rwanda and Congo reaffirmed their commitment to a U.S. brokered deal signed in June and signed new agreements in Washington.
Force est de constater que le Rwanda viole déjà ses engagements.
100 school children were released on Monday in Nigeria's Niger state after being held captive by kidnappers, with authorities working to secure the freedom of remaining hostages. The children arrived in buses and armored vehicles at the Niger State Government House. Government officials said the children will be scheduled to undergo medical checks before being reunited with their families. Niger State Governor Muhammad Umar Bago expressed optimism about recovering the remaining captives. Some of the abducted children were as young as 6. They are part of the children kidnapped last month on November 21 from a private Catholic school in Papiri in Niger State. And before ending, we go through the headlines again. Scheduled for the 30th national election to be announced this week, says the CEC. Differences of opinion must not undermine nation's dreams, says Mirza Fakhrul. Calls for unity to honor July martyrs. Interim government resorting to secrecy in the formulation of every law, says Dr. Iftikharuzzaman. You are updated with our top stories so far here on SATV, and to know the latest news, visit www.sctv.tv. Stay with SATV.